to another Voice of Nick show. We're doing more of the Posthomerica artwork here for Chapter 6, which is the depicting the shield of Eurypyles. We're going to move forward with this. I want to take a look at our work on some of these other red figure pictures. So let's go back to Philoctetes chapter here. Okay, so it looks like we have a couple layers of dust and grime, and then we have, it looks like a layer that matches the color of the red figures, and that seems to be everything. This, I think, is the same color. Yeah, but there's a few areas where it gets really bright, so maybe there's 3 instances of that accent color. So we're going to do this and turn it a little brighter. Yep. And I actually want to, let's turn off this layer for a second. I want to grab our original color. We're just going to do a little more work on this. So let's do that. What else we got? Yeah, and you can see that this accent color just adds a little bit of extra brightness. Alright, let's do one more layer with a pretty bright color and a very small effectiveness level. Now, oops, this one is not going to be one of those layers. Although, actually, hold on, before we do that, let's come up with a new color for this. So let's mix a color here. I wish I had like a bigger color wheel. Can I like change the size of this or no? If I could only make this bigger, I would have like more precision with it. Okay, looks good. Now we are going to do a few things here. So first we're going to mask the original layer. So in the chapter before this, chapter 5, there's also a section which describes Achilles' shield. But we're deciding to depict this shield because there's a little more time spent on it, and also it doesn't appear in other media. You know, like in the Iliad, already that shield is technically there. Like Achilles already has that shield. Even if they don't really describe it, I don't think in the same way as they do in this story. But I thought it would be more interesting for 5 to show Aias, because that's really what the chapter is about. It's also named after him. So we're going to remove a lot of the weathering here because we're going to add some texture, and then if we want to add more weathering back in, we can always do that. You can see eagle-eyed viewers may notice that the Stymphalian bird there has a different color outline. It doesn't really match the background. The reason we haven't bothered to change that is because all the outlines are about to get deleted. So it's not going to make a difference. Okay, so now of course, right before I did the stream, I ate a chipotle that I sprinkled extract of Carolina Reaper, the spiciest pepper in the known world, onto the chipotle, and now my nose is running again. I put Carolina Reaper extract on it, basically all my food, and it's fine when I'm streaming a video game, but I think because with the art streams I'm looking downwards, so my head is tilted down and it makes the nose more likely to run. Okay, so now we have this, and now we're going to go through and add a few layers, just sort of build it up. Oops, oh, I just had it. Maybe like that. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. So we want that, but not at 100%. So in the original picture that I'm referencing, there's this kind of, I don't know if it's like a chipping of the bowl that the thing is depicted on, but there's this kind of like more saturated color that when it doesn't appear there, it almost looks like it chips away onto this to reveal this kind of like more dull color underneath. So we're building this up from the bottom upwards to recreate that effect. Okay. Now we're going to take another layer. We're going to make this a little more orange, maybe. Oops. Yeah, I think that's pretty much exactly right. Now we're going to sprinkle in this second color, which will only hit the parts that have already been brushed with the yellow. And so it'll kind of give off that effect like this thing is only occurring in certain spots. That is one thing I missed. I think I missed the side sections. So let's take this back out. We're just going to take our original yellow. Oh, whoops. Good. Whoa. So is this able to paint on everything? Was I wrong about this? No. It's, yeah, I think it is able to paint on everything. I thought it would only hit the parts that the yellow was on. But I guess I'm wrong about that. Either way, it works. Okay. Now we're going to take the outline layer and we want to cut this out of the fill layer. So we're going to select every instance where this appears and we're just going to delete that. And now if we turn off the outline layer, you can see that it's still exactly the same, except in all the spots where there used to be an outline, it is now filled with the texture of the vase underneath. Also, the bird's outline does not look different than everything else. So that's good. Let's go back down here. Now we just want to keep building this up. Welcome Dorian D to the show. We're making our Greek artwork here. This is for the book that I'm working on. We're getting close. Let's save it real quick. We are definitely getting a lot closer than we were. It's funny that like it's such a big project, this whole thing, and it's hard to kind of envision it ever being done. But we're really approaching, something like a finish line. It's very exciting. So let's do this horizontally, I think. So like as hard as we press this, it'll eventually hit that spot, but I think it's more likely to hit the spots that have the original mask first. I don't really understand the logic, but that's what we got. Okie dokie. Now, I want to use probably the base color to also, let's change the base color a tiny bit, or at least let's see what happens if we change it. So I want to take the original base color. We still have it sitting there, so we can go back to it. And let's just make it a little tiny bit. Come on. If you move it only a little bit, it won't actually move, so you have to like move it and then move it back. Okay, so that essentially makes it a little more uniform. I think that works. Or we could at least like mask in certain sections of it. Let's make a mask for this. And we are going to then, oops, we don't want to change the angle. We're just going to mask in any parts that we think really kind of need it. I love the monster design. I think that really works. Okay, now that's what we got. Now, let's weather the figures a little bit more. And after all this, I think it could be cool to try and do... I have an idea. I have no idea if it's going to work or not. But first, let's do this. So this is what we're weathering here. Sorry, I can't really ask you questions, Dorian. We've been in emote-only mode for the past however long, until we're done with the book project. But that's really allowed this thing to speed along. I'm trying to hit a personal deadline. It's actually my own published book, so it's not like there's no publisher saying you got to come out with this now. But it's one of those things where I set my own deadline. I'm trying to at least stick to it, so we're in a bit of rush mode here not rush mode, but we're buckling down to try and get it out the door. I've been on this project for a year at this point. It's kind of like the audiobook that I've been making and the book that I've been making between other audiobooks. And it's about time, that we finish it. So it's been a really fun project, but we're seeing a lot more progress in these last couple weeks than we have in a long time. But I hope you're doing well. Hope everything is good. So we're really just aging the picture. We're adding some, these are like translucent negative masks to the picture. Now we're going to do some fully realized masks, but we're going to make them smaller and less frequent. And we want some of this to hit the sides too. We haven't really. So I'm aiming for July for both of these, the book and the audiobook, to come out. And that also accounts for, there's kind of like a month-long review process for when you submit your stuff. So we really want to have it done by like somewhere in June. So we're coming up to the wire here. It's pretty exciting. Why does this still look like it's translucent? All right, good. It looks pretty well aged. Dorian got the thumbs up. Glad to hear it. Doing well. Yeah, I'm pretty excited for Elden Ring. That's kind of like the game that I'm chomping at the bit to play once I get done with this project. Because it came out during the time when I was like just switched over to working on this for all my streams, and then I was like, man, I really want to play Elden Ring. So we're staying strong. We're getting to the finish line, and then we're gonna play it. Okay. Good. We might have gone pretty heavy, a little too heavy possibly on the aging, but that's fine for now. Now we're going to take the base layer for this. Let's use, like this color. And we're gonna use this as a layer here, not as a mask. And this is gonna be pretty big. Yeah, this is good. Smaller. Now we're adding this like bleed layer so it feels a little more integrated, I guess. This is a layer that we need to go back in and add to a few of our earlier pictures that don't have it. We just want to take our time and do it piece by piece. Yeah, looks good. We'll kind of do like micro level changes once the whole thing is in, but that little section there looks like it's going to need a little bit of help. We'll cheat this with the bleed layer a little to make the fire have like some kind of glow, which wouldn't really occur unless sometimes it does actually occur like that, where there's if they use like a wash to depict the fire in the actual when they made the pottery, but then the wash disintegrated with time, then sometimes you'll get that kind of glow around fire because there used to be a glow, but it doesn't exist anymore. So maybe that's what's happening there. This is why it helps to actually study Greek pottery methods and like how they would make it, and obviously look at as many pictures as you can, but also try to understand what the process was, what the materials were that they were using, because that'll definitely be pretty useful. It comes in handy in a lot of ways, like a lot of unexpected ways. For some reason, sometimes it like doesn't make any marks. There it goes. And it's funny too, because like the closer we study these vessels and the artwork that's depicted on them, the more we'll come up with new ideas of like, okay, so maybe, this is something that would occur at this scale, and this is something that would occur at this scale. Like you kind of learn something new every time you really take a minute to examine these pieces. They're pretty endlessly detailed, endlessly rewarding to study. Okay. So this works for me everywhere. I do want to change let's do a couple of revisions here. We just want to make a few things here a little less prominent. Some of these splotches and stuff don't need to stick out quite so much. Mostly from our first run. The thing is that we're layering on all these colors, so, we might not realize how something's going to play out when we're first putting stuff on. So there's no, it's all part of the process. It's a give and take. Great. Now we can see that the vessel, the black of the vessel has texture. So does the painted areas on the vessel. So let's save it. And we'll be able to see here, this is what we have now, and this is what it used to look like. Very different. There's a clear kind of like different quality that comes through when we put in these textures. So now I wanted to try something which I think could be pretty cool. We haven't done anything with like cracks in these pictures, and I think it could be kind of fun to attempt. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but we'll basically take this. We'll take like little. This should resolve when we zoom in. It looks like it's not. So yeah, I want to represent some of these cracks that occur in these pieces. And I don't know if we're going to do this or not, but it's kind of an interesting idea. The only thing is that it's very distracting, and you kind of look around them in the real piece, but in something like this, we created the artwork, so it's like, yeah, we're gonna skip that. Okay, so what else do we want? Let's take a look. I do kind of like the depiction of the cracks, but it just doesn't fit for what we're trying to do. So now we're going to, let's do one thing, which is, I'm going to take the lightest color here. So let's see if we can make any interesting shapes. Like this, maybe? Like that's one way that we could kind of depict more weathering. All right, let's play that idea out. We'll see what happens with it. I don't really want to do that on all the pictures, but it would be cool to have it at least on this one, which is where the weathering effect does occur in my references. Oops, how did that get there? It's kind of cool. We don't want it to just end up becoming like a means for us to make accent colors. It seems like it mostly occurs where it creates like a line. Sometimes it'll even break pieces off the image like we tried to depict there, but I don't think it's not gonna read properly, so we're not gonna do that. And this thing would have a lot of the issue on it because it's such a large amount of this colored paint. So we're going to put a bunch of these instances in. And this layer is on top of everything, so we might want to change the weight of it or something. Or just put it under some of the other layers, because it doesn't really make sense the way it is.